chatters. Any questions can be called in to 1-775-657-5973. 1-775-657-5973. If you're in the chat room on Wolf Spirit Radio, which is wolfspiritradio.com/wolf chat, please post questions in uppercase letters, in capital letters. Thank you. Now on with the show. You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio. Welcome to Healings and Meditations on Wolf Spirit Radio, No Borders Radio, and everbeyondradio.com. Frank Jordan and the Earthmind Think Tank Group are here with us. Frank, you are with some people, so you sound slightly different, but hopefully still as perfect as you ever are. How are you, my friend?
Oh, we're doing fine. I'm here with Joan. We have a guest with us tonight, Camille Leon. She's a lady that I'm working with on a minerals project down here in Nevada. But we're in Fernley, Nevada right time, and at this moment in a motel. So if this Wi-Fi gets a little strange, you'll understand what's going on. Just if you can't hear us, or if the people in the chat room have problems, let us know and we'll try to adjust things. Otherwise, we're ready here. Looking forward to an interesting evening. We don't have quite as many of the people on in the Wolf Spirit group that I had hoped for, but the ones that are here have lots to say. So we'll move ahead with that. And we'll have an interesting healing session at the end of the show in the second hour, as we always do. So any of you out there who require healing or healing for someone else, remember that through the auspices of Group Mind Consciousness and through Wolf Spirit Radio, the grid of electromagnetic sound waves and thought waves, we actually operate through 4 different levels of grid and grids of consciousness. And we work through Earth Mind, to the electromagnetic grid, to the subtle energy grid, telepathically, and through Oversoul. So one way or another, we'll make contact with you. So if you make a request, all we need to have is the problem and who the person is, and you can make a request for someone else too, and where you're located, and if possible, any background on the physical condition that we'll be working with. And the neat thing about it is everyone listening to this call, and we've had as many as 133,000 on here at one time. Everyone out there, when you tune in the sound of our voices, you become attuned to Wolf Spirit Radio, to this electromagnetic grid, and you become part of the program. And through direction, desire, and will and intent, we direct our energies, our thought forms, our creating reality to become one. This is what it's all about, is for humanity to learn to be one in consciousness, in intent, and desire, and working towards ultimate evolution of consciousness into the 4th dimension, where we'll use these powers on a daily basis, and many more powers than what we can express here, of course. We've already discerned that some of the things that we are gaining right now as we're working through the top end of the 3rd dimensional reality, we are learning that we can actually reduce or reverse aging. I'm experiencing that myself, and I've had reports from others too who just can see themselves visibly changing as we work the DNA and through the subconscious mind and get into communication with DNA. There's no reason why we can't eliminate disease, hardship, poverty, and everything else out of our consciousness reality, so that everything we're bringing into the world through our desire and will and intent and our self-realization is of a positive nature that can be uplifting not only in our own reality, but in the reality of everyone around us, and that everyone we contact and in the subtle energy grid. And that's really what it's all about, is learning how to work in the subtle energy grid. Because the subtle energy grid is the one that sustains the physical grid out here, the physical reality. So when you drop into that subconscious mind, and this is a lot of what you hypnotists do, you go take the person into their subjective subtle energy realm through the subconscious mind, through hypnosis, and you can do remarkable things with them. But the neat thing I've learned is that as a healer, and the way I learned to heal, is I go in there with them. I become one with them to the degree that I can feel what their problems are, mentally, emotional, spiritual, or whatever. And so with our unified consciousness within the subconscious system, we affect incredible changes. But the real discovery was that we can reach out through consciousness, through the airwaves, to World Spirit Radio, or any other means of communication, even through recordings or telephone calls or anything else. And the same thing happened. And what this illustrates is that we are literally all one. We're simply individualized cells of a whole. Each one of us has a responsibility, just like the cells of the body do. Each one of those is just a little individualized consciousness that's aware of its reality and its responsibility and what it's programmed to do. But as part of the whole, look what has evolved, these incredible things we call human beings, with all the potentials and aspects of what we can experience and do with these physical bodies. And that's why our souls are indwelling in this cycle, is to learn what we can do. It's taking us up another level now. Out of this third dimensional reality we've been in for 26,000 years, we're in the new cycle. We're moving quite rapidly. The whole world is changing around us, and they don't realize they're changing. So those of us who are aware and can help others to understand, it's just like a light bulb coming on in their heads. When they realize and understand something, then they have power over it. They can do it too. And that's what's happening through World Spirit Radio and all of our connections out there. JP, how's the world over in Scotland today?
It's a very quiet, sort of sleepy sort of day today here. We've been making a herb garden. Actually, we did all the work yesterday, and because I had to shift loads of rocks and dirt and stuff yesterday because we're building a herb garden. So we're building things here. It's a nice, and I've been making bird tables and bird boxes and stuff.
It's interesting, isn't it, how the world is constructed one little piece at a time until we understand how the whole exists as one thought consciousness, and what we're doing is putting our thought consciousness into form when we build or create something. And yet there it stands. Once you get it created, it stands there, actually enduring weather and all sorts of things, and until it just literally is reabsorbed back into the consciousness of nature again. So what are you creating with your rock work?
It's they were the border stones to rest planks on to hold in the herb garden. So we've got it's been there for a long time, but it was very decrepit and full of weeds, and my girlfriend today just dug the whole thing out and recreated it. But she got me to schlep these enormous pieces of stone across the field to bring back. Here, I want that one. Okay, all right. So I schlepped it back home. So I'm a bit sore from from schlepping things. Schleppenmensch.
All right. Well, okay. We were having a discussion the other day in the Earth Mind Think Tank private group. The
Stellar.
What?
Stellar.
Yeah, the Stellar group. Pardon me. It got into some wonderful fields of consciousness that I thought would be very interesting for everyone to listen to. I see we don't have Rich on here tonight, so he has particular insights into the low souls and things of that nature and how to cross them over. So let's wait and give him a little time to get on here, if he will. And because he has some fascinating information. Is there anything that anyone else is curious about tonight that you'd like to bring up, or any experience you'd like to share with us in the group?
I've got a question about souls and spirit. As I was walking the other day barefoot, and I was feeling the bare soles of my feet on the earth, I was pondering, is that what the lower self is, the soul? And then you raise yourself up into the higher realms of spirit?
No, I think you start out a little higher than that. The reason you can feel so much in the soles of your feet is because every nerve ending in your body ends there. The feet are incredibly sensitive until we get them too encapsulated with shoes or with calluses that we can't feel the subtle energy systems of Earth. That's how Earth communicates with us. Earth mind is through the soles of our feet. And then that travels up through our system into the low self, in the low body, then on up into the high self, and into the brain, where the information, wherever it's stored in the subconscious mind, in the chakra system, extrapolates the information you need with whatever question you're asking, whatever you're working with. But that process of moving energy and information from Earth mind up through the system, into the chakra system, gives you access to your past lives and the physical storehouse of the Akashic records, and everything that has happened in your past and the history of not only your parents but your entire soul flow, all the way back to the original soul, which, as you well know, was Enki's sister, Ninsarhag. And she was a scientist also. And when they created man, and she offered her body up as the crucible to place the ovum of the primitive man, for her to incubate in there, the primitive, the Homo erectus primitive. It took an egg out of a Homo erectus female. Enki altered and added genes to it to raise its intelligence level to where it could understand and not just be a hunter-gatherer on the plains, but could be human. And they did that for the purpose of creating a worker on Earth, a slave. This happened about 380,000 years ago. And so that worked very well for them all down through the ages. And that man was the Neanderthal man. And at a point, Enki got interested in upgrading the Neanderthal line a little bit, added some more genes, until now we have a total of 223 genes in our body that are not native to Earth. They are not found in any other plant or animal on Earth, and they had to have been injected there. And that's what created Homo sapien. And the Homo sapien was very intelligent, enough so they would never teach him anything. They would never allow him to have scientific information. They could train him what they wanted him to do, and that was all. They wouldn't give him the information that would upgrade his consciousness or to where mankind would become a threat to the gods. There's only about 600 of the gods ever on Earth anyway. Most of the time they spent their time in the interim regions between Earth and Nibiru, or back on Nibiru itself. They traveled back and forth all the time. But as the ages progressed and the sons of the gods, the demigods, became more prevalent out here as they interbred with the human females, and that upgraded the race considerably. That's what's back about in 6,000 years ago. that's where the Egyptians and all those ancient groups came from. And this all occurred after the Great Flood, when about 12,000 years ago. So humankind had come back very slowly from that point up to where they could become a factor in the world again. But the big overall reason that the gods created them was to be slave laborers, to mine gold. And as you are probably aware of, Michael Tellinger is found over 300,000 stone circles in southern Africa that were used to generate energy. I just listened to a tape of his a while back. It was fascinating how they're proving that they could generate energy to operate equipment that could refine gold out of the ore that they brought to those sites. And they know that's what's happened because they can find gold samples and ore samples that were carried into these stone circles and refined there. But anyway, that's another whole story. Your question was about the souls, the soles of your feet, and that connection with the earth and earth mind. That's what gives us contact through our primitive ancestors, the Homo erectus, to the physical system of the human body. That's what allows us to go back into earth mind and gather the instinctive memories that all of our ancestors for hundreds of thousands of years have been programming into earth mind, the Akashic records. Remember the silicon dioxide in the crust of the earth is actually 63% of the earth's crust, so it's one gigantic computer chip. So everything that happens energetically on the surface of the earth is held in earth, and then when some descendant needs something that's been programmed in the past, the person pulls it back up through their feet, and that information goes back as intuitive, instinctive information, and it rises up through the chakra system and relates to whatever else is stored there that in the subconscious mind, and then comes on up into the frontal lobe of the brain, where we translate it into knowledge and information. It's just information until we extrapolate from it into something that becomes knowledge, understanding of how things work. And we think, of course, if we thought of it ourselves, it may have been thought of hundreds of thousands of years ago. Who knows? But anyway, this is why the gurus and Indian sages and shamans and whatnot, why they walk off bare feet, is because they are pulling a lot of information out of earth mind that's stored there. And earth mind that not only that has been there in the past, but which their cohorts or other intuitives around the world that are learning things are broadcasting it down into earth, and we can pick it up out of other nodes also, where other people have stored information. So it's a great cycle of information and energy that we're pulling up into our systems all the time, and we work out through with our conscious reasoning brains. That's when we can extrapolate information out and take it into the society and use it for the benefit not only of ourselves, but to generate society and culture and consciousness and everything we need to survive and evolve.
Well, I know that you were saying the feet pick up the information and bare feet is better, but living in cities, people wear shoes and there's cement. And I'm also thinking of how the shoe design for women has gotten to where the soles are a good 2 inches high so that their feet really are further off the ground than they would even be normally.
Smart woman that would wear high heels?
No.
Okay, enough said.
I would like a pair of conductive rubber shoes, rubber soles, conductive rubbers. You can buy they can make anything conductive. So
anything organic in nature, like woven grass sandals and things like that. If it's organic, of nature, it will conduct energy and information. So the subtle energy permeates everything because it is the foundation of consciousness. And so grass, woven, any kind of fiber, coconut fiber, I don't know. I don't have been in those realms, but there has to be a lot of things that we could wear that would be beneficial to us, more healthy for us. I have a chiropractor that he just insists patients learn to walk in the grass in their bare feet when he's doing healing work with them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we need to get JP some Tommy Chews.
I'm pardon, I'm trouble. Say that again.
I said we need to get JP a pair of those nice Tommy Chew.
Okay.
They're designer shoes.
All right. Are they rubber conductive?
I think they're leather based.
Leather. Oh. Prefer leather to rubber. Anyway, let's talk about. So Norm has a question, and he's asking it presumably. Is there a general purpose and focus of life intended for all souls on this planet? Like, is there a common purpose for all?
Yeah. How well does he get along with his in-laws?
Very good.
The common purposes for us as individualized soul streams coming in from different sources, different planets, literally, but we're all human out there, is to learn how to merge different societies, races, backgrounds, soul histories, and to learn how to become a cooperative, functioning community rather than these little spatially isolated warrior factions, which they may have been when they came in, and many of them were warrior factions that came here to learn to be domesticated so they could take their place out in the star system. When these souls depart and go back out, they'll carry with them what they're learning here, that domination does not work. Domination always and ultimately self-destructs. And so what they'll be carrying back to their destructive native species, wherever they are, whatever star system they're in, they'll be carrying back the lessons they'll learn here on how to cooperate, how to realize we're all one, so let's treat each other as we would be treated. Does that make sense? I love it when I drop something in the middle of you guys. You
yeah, I really love it, Frank, when I'm in the kitchen and you finish a sentence.
Okay.
I'm in the chair for 4 hours, man. Anyway, so where were we? There was some talk in the chat room before about crystals and aligning crystals, and we've also been talking about shungite tonight, Frank. Have you heard of shungite? Now you're doing it to me now, aren't you?
We might have lost Frank for a minute. I think we got into that shungite discussion a week or two ago, I believe.
All right. So it's spreading in popularity, and people are trying it, and it's working for them.
Well, Joan has had lots of experience. What can you tell us, Joan, about how crystal consciousness is spreading around, and how do we get that to work better?
Practice. It's all reading the stones and programming the stones so they do what you want them to do. That's how I feel about it. There's a lot of stones for a lot of reasons, but your effort has to be behind the stones.
Well, first of all, there comes the realization that each mineral, each structure, each set of molecules on Earth that pull together to form a common grid. And I was thinking about that coming down here to Nevada today, how we find concentrations of different minerals in different areas, and how one mountain range can have several distinct crystalline structures or minerals, whatever you want to name, located in it. Then one just across the way will have something different. And so I followed that back in time in their creation, and realized that when they were all just a molten mass, they attracted each other molecularly. Like attracts like, because when you attract the things that are similar to you, you enter in a comfort zone where you can hold your identity and your individuality, but you're part of a whole, and that whole becomes a protective field that helps to nurture your reality. Because every one of these molecules has consciousness also. It's self-aware. It's not very aware. It's simply aware that it feels better if it's in association with other molecules of the same nature, same atomic structure, so they pull together. And the same thing happens with crystals. When crystals grow, it's dependent on whatever root source they're drawing minerals, silicon dioxide from, and whatever is compatible to that they add to the various crystals. That makes different colors and configurations and hardness and some things that we admire so much in them. But the realization is that each one of those has a distinct frequency. And I was having fun coming down through Nevada today. I know where a lot of the mines are out there that I've worked with and done readings with people on and through my dowsing work. And with my hand outing, I can just simply drive down the highway and hold my hand out in the direction, put my point of attention on anything out there, any place or any locality, and I can read the mineral structure, whatever is predominantly there. And when I was asking for gold, I feel the distinct frequency of gold that enters in my hand, and according to the concentration of how much there is, the intensity either grows lighter or stronger. And then when you get out into the dispersed fields where it's washed down and become intermingled with all the other minerals, it becomes very weak, but it's still there. You can still feel it. And then when I shift my attention to silver to see how much silver was actually, and I can do this to the point of reading how many ounces per ton these ores or these localities will produce, just by having had the experience of doing it so often and getting the assay back from these sites to confirm what I was reading. And so I was having a lot of fun today playing with that, mainly tuning myself up again to remember how to do this, because I haven't worked very actively in the minerals very long. But it got me thinking about the crystals again and how crystal consciousness, literally, those. It's like a memory bank, because the structure of the crystalline properties themselves the actual molecular structure alters in such a way as to turn positive or negative depending upon the force of consciousness that passes through them. It'll hold the form of a thought form. And this is exactly what our computer chips do. It'll hold a structure. When the energy passes through it, it takes the form of that thought and holds on to that. And it will until it's affected with another equal or opposite or more powerful energy or an intense that will alter the frequency and the form of the reality. And that is basically what Earth mind is and does. It accepts everything as patterned into it and just holds it, and all the way back in time. Like I've told you before, it's amazing to follow these flows back in time and read the psychometry of an area and everything that's happened there. And furthermore, when you start working with people, as we've talked also in the past, each person in the locality where they live for any period of time, they create a node of consciousness in that particular spot. that node of consciousness connects with the one where they lived before and before and before, and where their parents lived before and before and before, and their grandparents. And you can follow that flow, that grid, right back through their family flows. And if you're working to clear negativity out of them, it's patterned into their DNA somehow. So it's a negative expression of consciousness. It's not difficult to go back in time to where that thought form originated and alter it back in time, so it is not present in the standing waves of this moment of now. And so it's not present to resonate on into the future and clear and create negativity in our future. And this is why you'll notice when we do the chakra clearing meditation, we're very careful to clear this moment of now, whatever we're feeling, whatever is it we're experiencing now, clear it out to left female side, out to right male side, because that's the polarity that holds it in form. Then we go out the back and clear the standing waves of the past, because those standing waves are what's carrying it forward into this moment of now, and that is what resonates forward into our future to create the reality, the ongoing reality of what we perceive as being reality out here. And so when you change it now and in the past, it disappears out of the future because the standing waves are not there to support it anymore. And that's why we always reprogram a positive to replace the negative that had its position or place in our chakra system, where it was stored in our hard disk. We always create the positive opposite, replace the negative. So your inner system automatically begins to not only release something, but to heal whatever damage that particular situation caused. And this relates not only to physical things, our physical well-being and healing, but to our thought creation processes and our reality that we create, and the joint reality of the people around us of what we create. It goes right on out to mass reality, where we create armies to fight other armies. Wouldn't it be interesting if everybody refused to fight? Duh.
Yeah, they threw a war and no one came.
So let's look at that a little bit. I'm just going to throw this out to you and let's hear some discussion on it. How can we alter mass consciousness of the propensity to dominate and control others?
Well, Frank, I think one of the first pieces we can do is actually begin to work on ourselves to eliminate, eradicate, and replace that individually and have that become part of the morphogenic field and just multiply and magnify.
Yeah, right, it all discussed, doesn't it? How do we get people to listen to us?
I think we're doing it right now, Frank. I think they're on. I think they're listening. I think it's happening little by little. And as each one of us changes and grows in that reality, we take that same message to more people, and it just begins to multiply.
And what happens?
It would be great if that would multiply as fast as the propaganda that people send around through emails. How do we get the positive to multiply as fast as the negative? And I think Catherine has a good approach. Always stay in the positive, joy and happy in the heart.
Yeah.
It's a conscious effort. Upon waking every morning, before I even open my eyes, I tell myself, I am happy, I am joyful, I am peace, I am love. And I just keep that mantra going on in my own head. So instead of all the other lines that people get stuck on, the cycle of self-thought, mine is always positive. I am joy. I am happy. I am peace. I am love. And you start walking your talk. And
I think that's exactly right. Instead of concentrating on the negative or being in a bad mood, I'll collect all my extra blankets and take them down to the homeless or something, rather than sit at the computer and read all the negative things. Because there's just as many positive things as negative things, but somehow people pick up on the negative. It's amazing.
Your fear and your need for control. And
Bingo.
just love, don't release the fear and the control. And you release that, and what do you have? You have love and peace.
Can I interject something?
Sure.
It all starts with Earth Mind.
Yeah.
What we did a few weeks ago when we went down into Earth Mind and we started working on the frequencies of domination in Earth Mind, then we kind of got sidetracked into other stuff. I think it's the building blocks. I think, the way I'm listening to you speak is you're programming your high self to try to persuade the low self to cooperate in dominion. But the Earth Mind has been programmed in domination. And it's all based upon, like you say, the ego consciousness. So how do we go about changing that? We have to change the Earth Mind first, so it resonates into the lower chakras enough where we can neutralize the domination. Otherwise, it's kind of like you got this boxer you've been training for 4 months, and you put him into the ring, and you finally tell him he can't fight because it's not right to do so. And he's standing there ready to knock your head off because that's all he's been trained to do. So I'm thinking that we need to work on that old system of group consciousness that's been programmed into the earth. It's like back in the 60s and 70s, I was in the Vietnam generation, and we used to have a saying, what if they gave a war and no one came? Just like Frank said. Well, that was a great idea, but the group consciousness of the United States was so brainwashed into warfare that they wouldn't even consider it. So why was that? So because of the group consciousness programmed into Earth Mind, right? So Walt, why don't you come up with some sort of a device that we can do like HARP does and just neutralize all this domination from the Anunnaki all the way forward.
But see, there.
Now I put some new stuff on the table. Now you guys can have some fun. I'm going to sit back and listen to this.
Well, to me, it's simple. Just like I was saying, it's the Earth Mind, it's the souls, it's the feet. And we can program ourselves that with every step we take, we're putting love into the earth. We are loving the earth. We are happy with the earth because the earth gives us life. So you are programming yourself, but you're also programming the earth by walking on it with this thought.
And that starts with learning to love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
In mankind. Love your brother. He ain't heavy, he's my brother.
Are we the problem?
And the solution.
Perfect.
The focus is the problem. What do you choose to focus on?
I think that we're talking about domination. Well, who's dominating? Are we the ones dominating the world? Who's dominating the world right now? Who are the dominators that are fucking it up for everybody else?
Well, I've been thinking
us,
about
is it? We're not the bad guys, are we?
How do you get to stand up and go to war? Well, number one, you convince them it's for a justice cause and to save the nation. Number two, you agree to support them and give them livelihood for their families while they're at war. And this, number three, you gather them together in a group mind conscious says us against them. Now, the realization that comes with that is that these individuals are being programmed from outside to do all three things, because wars, at least the modern day wars, and even back in Roman times and Egyptian times, wars were always fought for a profit, for control of territory, to gain food, supplies, minerals, labor, manpower, to build your own structure stronger at the expense of someone else. And that can be taken right forward, right into everything we do today in business and in joint interactions with each other.
Yep. Amen.
If we start treating each other, and everyone did it on earth, did it, and understand that we should treat others as we want to be treated ourselves, and reciprocate in kind, and let the kindness grow, and always stay in your high self, so the low self, greed, domination, control, manipulation, sexual domination and abuse, and all of that stuff is reprogrammed to love instead of domination. Then dominion can express over the world, and dominion is what it's all about. Remember, like it says in the first pages of the Bible, and God shall give mankind dominion over the birds and fly, the beasts that creep, the plants that grow on earth. And dominion means to be the caretakers of them, not
the domain. You're looking after your domain.
Reaches out to include each other. But it's a whole process. This is what the question was asked when we first began this discussion: why souls came in group minds like they do in the races, and why they hold these race mind grouping of consciousness for power and control that has been used in the past to dominate others. Why did they do that? One thing, simple and pure, is they only do it originally for survival of the species. And if you join together, us against them, you can survive better. You can control and dominate, and that's the basis of domination. But that's what was taken over in the last, 5,000 or 6,000 years by the precursors of the Illuminati. The gods programmed all of this directly into us. So, number one, we would continue to accumulate resources, gold, and store it in our reserves, so when they came by, they could pick it up and take it with them. That's what's happening right now. Many of the world's hoards of gold have disappeared, and they don't know where they went. And it isn't going necessarily to the high-level Illuminati just for their use and abuse. It's going back to Nibiru. The system's working perfectly. God, it always has and always will until we recognize and say, hey, God, take care of your own planet, and we'll take care of ours. And that's when you will become equal to the gods. Don't support the system that upholds the financial structure of the world, that dominates anything and everything. Thank you.
So not to support the system, we need to do away with us and them. So we need to do away with the them. We are all one.
Well, so we are to blame then.
Yes.
Well,
the choices that we, each individual, have made for our own so-called quote-unquote well-being. Because we were working from the us and them mentality. If we get rid of the them, we all become one.
Well, that's what I see happening in the fourth dimension, in that lower levels of the 12 levels of the fourth dimension, is that we learn to recognize each other. I watched that wonderful movie again the other day of there goes the name. Avatar.
Avatar.
Avatar. Remember the movie Avatar, where they would meet someone new, they'd look at each other and say, I see you. Well, that really hit me because I realized that seeing means feeling, resonating, coming into a common field of awareness between each other so that we can be compatible and get along. And that's the problem out there. Is each race and each individual, each government, each organized territory, land, city, suburb, has to learn to see all the others.
Exactly.
Makes sense?
Exactly. Seeing is believing.
So when we're looking at television, what are we seeing?
You're getting your third eye painted with black paint. Television is spraying black paint on your third eye.
It's acting. It's play acting. That's all that TV and movies are, play acting.
But your subconscious does not understand a lie. It takes everything it sees as being factual and the truth and just downloads it as information to be fed back out. So as we're watching those negative things on television, we're downloading that into our own systems that can come back out if triggered, or to help create our reality and our own personalities and everything else. That's why we've got to be so careful of what is input into our bodies, and we need to work so hard or put our point in intent and focus on shifting what entertainment is. Why do people watch this stuff for entertainment when it's downloading negativity? Well, I'll tell you why. That's how the gods keep us from evolving.
Yes. Absolutely, Frank. And I know we've talked about this before, that, even just at the television level, I learned some time ago that the way the televisions are actually being made, they are actually hypnotizing you to make you more suggestible to what's actually being shown and heard. It's a very powerful medium, and when you marry that to all the other elements that are out there, waves, signals, pulses, being used in the mind control aspect, it really just, it's this cornucopia of just driving down the consciousness of humanity and anyone that watches this at a very deep level through a hypnotic process.
Well, I have a wonderful, speaking of hypnosis, I have a wonderful guest tonight who is a professional hypnotist, and she has some thoughts and ideas about this. Would you like to
Thank you, Frank.
sit down?
My name is Camille Leon. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist and have been for 13 years. I was trained at the Hypnotherapy Academy of America in Santa Fe, New Mexico, in the USA. Television, when you're watching a television show or in front of a television set, you actually are hypnotized.
Mm-hmm.
It's going straight into those brain waves that go very deep into your subconscious mind. And, of course, the Illuminati knows that they can hold us down, belittle us, change our children, change our DNA by watching Criminal Minds, CSI, all of these incredible, violent shows on television. The same thing at movie theaters. Go see August in Osage County in a completely dysfunctional family for your entertainment, and you walk out sick to your stomach because your subconscious mind has completely taken that in. So watch what you put into your body, not just what you eat, but what you're watching.
Or reading.
Or what your friends are saying. The authorities and your peer groups are the people who hypnotize you the most and the deepest. And a well-meaning parent screaming at a child is hypnotizing that child in the most unbeneficial of ways.
Yes.
And those are the things that Frank and I reprogram people from those very traumatic experiences in their childhood. We see them as adults who still are working with the challenge of that trauma as a 6-year-old and try to open that subconscious to tell us what is still affecting them.
Yes.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be on the program tonight. Thank you, Frank.
I know in my house, I will say that most of us are TV addicts. And when I am watching it, I will always mute the TV at commercials because they just irritate me. And everybody in the family gets so irritated with me when I do that. And listening to what you're all talking, it's making me think that perhaps their logic mind is coming back into play, from that constant hypnotized looping. And they don't like it, being shown themselves. Does that make sense?
Well, when I wrote the Clearing the Way to Higher Consciousness book and developed these techniques of clearing these things we're talking about, negative programming, and was in the process of developing understanding about how the subconscious works and how it is programmed and how to deprogram it and how to reprogram with positive information and expressions of conscious, so it become an automatic reality creator instead of just being us blundering along through life, being subjected to everything we've been exposed to in our lives. I handed one of the first copies of it to my Jane's stepfather, so it was. And he was a very wise old fellow that didn't know a thing about metaphysics or couldn't understand what I was doing with healing, and I couldn't talk to him about it. And finally, I just handed him this book, and I said, here, maybe this will give you a better understanding of what I'm doing. And so we went on about our business, and about a day later, he came up to me with a very bemused look on his face and handed the book back to me, and he said, this should be taught in the schools. And that's all he ever said about it. But this was a guy who was a very intelligent person, lots of education, doctorate degrees and all kinds of things, and in retirement and looking back at his own life and realizing what a messed up reality we've created. And it just touched me right in the heart to think that he could see and internalize these potentials of what we can be and do and how to change the things. It all starts with our children. This generation is virtually written off right now.
Well, also, as children, the subconscious mind is wide open until the age of 7 to 10 years old, when the critical factor is formed between the subconscious mind and the conscious mind. And so if parents know that they're screaming at their 5-year-old is going straight into that subconscious, if they knew that, they'd stop that. They would start to get more conscious themselves about what said and done with their children. If we could do that, Frank, as you're saying, if we could teach it in schools to the generation who's going to be the next parents, the next parental group, we would change the whole sculpture of our society.
And I'll take it a step further than that, too. A lot of times when I'm working with couples who are having marriage difficulties, they just cannot bring it together. They came together for the wrong reason in the first place, probably, because they didn't know each other well enough and didn't understand how to clear what they brought to the marriage, particularly repeated marriages where they repeat the same thing again and again and again and strengthen it and empower it and take it on into the next marriage as more weapons, rather than learning from it. And
more dysfunctional.
Sorry about that. I didn't. Well, anyhow, I got off on points there. The point being that with self-awareness and programming of the family, the last thing parents would ever do or should do is work out their problems in front of the kids, because they are creating the next generation of losers in relationships when they do that. Because before a kid is 6 or 7 years of age, they have already downloaded from their parents, just intuitively, if nothing else, what their sexual mode is most likely to be. and what their perception of how marriage works, what a marriage is, who has what responsibilities, and how do you take care and nurture everyone. And if they don't see that, when their time comes along, they repeat that because that's their pattern. That's all they know. And it's just painful to try to take people back and deprogram them out of their childhood and reprogram them back through so the new relationship has got a chance. But it's very doable. That's what Camille and I do, and it's what you did too, isn't it, David?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and oftentimes you can actually see it so clearly. It's just generation to generation to generation, and it's so embedded. Even if they see, it's like they see the train coming and they still can't get off the track. It's just heart-wrenching to actually see that. Just repeat, and know that it's clearable, it's removable, it's solvable.
Well, there is a small percentage of the people in the world that are coming to these realizations now. We're not the only ones.
No.
And it's reaching out and touching the others, finding each other, saying, I see you, and let's look at the world together so the world can see us, and then communicate to the world. Communication is really the key in the soul of it. If we could communicate to higher aspects of consciousness and ideals and the things that the churches say they stand for and mean, but they never get beyond the hearing stage of it and the facade they create of people who are being hypocritical of expressing, putting that facade in front of themselves out in the world, saying, look how perfect I am, while underneath that, they're just totally screwed up, and they're screwing their kids up and their relationships and everything else. This is one skill I've always had that I wish I could teach to every psychiatrist in the world and everyone who works with kids. This skill of looking beyond the facade of the person, that whatever they're projecting out there, to what really is happening underneath the facade. What are the true dynamics of their patterning and programming and what they're expressing? Then you follow that back to how it got programmed there. And more importantly, in my work, the way I do it is I teach them how to do it as they are clearing themselves. I always bring them back to focusing on clearing themselves, but by being essentially spiritually with them, one with them, I can point them in the direction, either energetically or through conscious cognizance, in the direction of learning and understanding how this stuff works so they can become teachers also. I remember one time when I was doing trance channeling in California years ago, the time when I thought I had to step out and listen to, and just not have my conscious mind involved in what I was saying. I remember I was asked, what can we do to change the world? How can we change the world? And Spirit, as we call that being that spoke through me, which was really my high self, came through and said, you can change the world one person at a time. And the group that I was with at that time kind of fell back, holy crap, we want to change them all at once. That's too slow doing it one at a time. And Spirit said, yes, but that's the only way they learn. And at any age, any level of consciousness, first you learn it yourself. Healer, first I heal thyself. And then you move on into the potential of having the capacity and the understanding, the empathy and the skill to heal somebody else, whether it be mentally, emotionally, spiritually, intellectually, or whatever. It's a new world consciousness. Remember that we're evolving here. New world awareness. It's not the new world order. It's the new world reality that we keep speaking of coming through. Yeah, if we let the new world order come in, they'll have us all being slaves in it. And I'm not being negative there. I'm just suggesting that that's what's happening.
Well, also, of course, this is very valid what you're saying, Frank, but the light fabric that is hitting the earth, the new magenta forms of light, are ramping up our vibrational world, our cellular system, our DNA, as I understand it, and bringing us a higher consciousness form and a crystalline body, which will not age the way the bodies we have today are. I'm excited about what's coming up.
Did you look at that light over your shoulder?
I have seen that light.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
This tickled me because she's just expressed.
Yeah.
While we're using your device.
How we're using the lights and crystals to do exactly that.
Right. It's a beautiful light. I can feel the energy in the room.
I brought down one of the lights with me, and we put waltz configuration that he made for Joan in front of him. It's beautiful. She's sitting there radiating out all the colors, and the crystals that are in that thing are changing those electromagnetic frequencies of that LED light into subtle energy frequencies that resonate with every cell in our body that has crystalline consciousness in it, in the cellular structure, the silicon dioxide in our system that holds the framework and structure of our physical bodies. So what you're seeing there is something that's changing us right now. As this light radiates on it, I've got it in the fast cycle right now, so it's quickly radiating through. But as those lights and frequencies are passing through us, that crystal, everything we're saying and expressing it today on this call, is reading what we're saying, and it's resonating it out into the subtle consciousness of the world. That's why I have these lights on all the time in my house, on my work desk. There's 2 or 3 of them going right beside where we're doing these programs, because the thought that we're expressing is resonating through the crystal consciousness of those lights and those crystals right into the crystal consciousness of Earth mind and distributing around the world. Isn't that a thought? Maybe that's our solution.
Better be. I don't want to be 100.
Well, JP, you've been listening avidly. What's your wrap up for this hour to take a break?
Well, it's make or break time. It's time to make that break, and let's see what I've got. I've lost a monitor today of my system, so I'm having to kind of pull these. I've got loads of windows open, and I've got there it is. Right, okay, here's the one, and let's have a little nice tune. Oh yeah, let's have a nice long break here, and we can hang out. This is some more David Hikes. Welcome back to Healings and Meditations on Wolf Spirit Radio, No Borders Radio, everbeyondradio.com. It's back to Frank.
Yeah, we're back. Do we have any healing requests tonight?
I haven't seen any yet, but we have. So I would like to announce, as always at this time on Sunday night, we ask for healings. I can't imagine that everybody that you know, everybody in your family, everybody that you meet in the street, everybody that you meet at work, that you don't know anybody who's challenged with health issues just now. So just think about it. I mean, they don't even have to be people that you like. Just send their name, their location, their condition, and hold them in your heart while we use you as a channel to connect with their soul. So,
however, do this with the awareness that we can only do it with their approval. their agreement to be healed, and also as far as doing it for someone else. Always ask, is it the right proper thing, or is there some point or purpose for their illness, their discontent with life, with themselves, their dis-ease. And I've learned long ago it isn't always the most appropriate thing to do is to heal someone else unless they know and have requested the healing, and it's time for them to have that completion to whatever they're working through in their reality.
Just trying to drum up some business, Frank. Okay, here we go. We got one. Here we go. Thank you, Rachel.
Are you back?
Yeah, friend Susan is going to move from Ventura to Camarillo, California. Could you douse to see if this new house land is clear, and would this new house be for their family's highest and best good? There's a good one. A bit of... What do you call that when you do that?
Geomancy? Oh, yeah.
Housemancy.
Housemancy. Geomancy.
You're going to have to give us a moment here, because I like to do that with my dowsing tool. It cuts the time tremendously. So you guys go ahead and talk for a minute.
Okay, so you've got to go and find
the dowsing tool.
All right. I hope you got it in a very nice little... I imagine a sort of purple velvet pouch, the Velcro kind of thing. What do you think, anyone?
A plastic sandwich bag.
That's more like it. A tatty jiffy bag.
There you go.
With a bubble wrap bag around it.
Frank's got his Toy Story lunchbox with with Buzz Lightyear.
Or is it one of those metal flight cases like the FBI use?
Looks like that house could use a little help.
Meanwhile, if you need healing or help, please put your condition, name, and location in the chat room.
I got one in there, JP.
Yeah, what is?
There's one in the Skype chat there, JP.
Okay, good. Well, Frank's away at the moment.
Well, I'm back.
Oh, there he's. You have recovered your healing tool.
Okay, where are we? What do you want to do first?
Okay, so do you want to describe what you're using, Frank, for a moment?
With my dowsing tool?
Yeah.
Okay. Friend Susan is going to move from Ventura to Camarillo, California. Could you douse to see if this new house land is clear? And would this new house be for their family's highest, best, and good? Well, there's a lot of general questions there, but I rely on my subconscious by dropping down into Earth Mind, and with my telepathic centers, my psychic center, I'm tuning into Susan, and through Rachel. See, this is what I call connecting the grid. You're connecting to the nodes that each person is, just by putting your thought and your intent through them. So, all right, now, Susan, as I recall, had a real difficult place that she purchased, and I worked with her a couple of times to clear that area, but it happened to be right, sitting right very near to a negative vortex. And negative vortexes in the land masses, and they are all over, just as there are positive vortexes all over. So I think we better explain that a little bit. A positive vortex is where light from the sun comes into the electromagnetic system of the Earth, cycles through the Earth in our ionosphere and back into the Earth, and it not only feeds the electromagnetic system, the gravity fields of Earth and all of that, it also feeds in life force. this is why plants have to have light to live, is they actually feed on the frequencies of energies that come through from the sun, and that spectrum of energy that they require is much the same as the love frequencies that we pull in when we do our work, that we call the galactic flow. It's actually very much the same thing that we use to nurture and heal humans and our reality. Well, the plants use it, and so a positive flow comes in, it's kind of like a spiraling nebula from the atmosphere into a region and distributes out through Earth mind to every creature on the surface of the Earth that requires life force. And it creates this vitalizing field of life force from the sun that supports and nurtures all life. Now that's a positive vortex, and it's very powerful energy that's coming in because it's literally the thing that holds the subtle energy field. It is the subtle energy field of consciousness that supports life. Now, if you just had positive life force pouring in all the time, eventually the Earth would explode from so much energy. So there has to be a negative balancing system. So there are negative vortexes located around everywhere that pulls in used life force. It literally, the life force that humans use, or plants or animals or any living thing that has DNA, they use this life force and it passes on through them and it carries the negativity out of them that would terminate their life. And what is left is the balance of positive and negative polarity that results and expresses as form, or form in our reality. So we can have the illusion of life and form. But when you can visualize like a rotating force going into the ground, pulling negative energy out of a large area around it, maybe 5 acres, maybe 10, maybe 20, depending on how much life is experiencing around there. And if you're living in a community, one of these will be pulling the negative life force, everything negative. Not everything. It's what it does is pull the subtle negative life force. It allows people to have their own negativity, do their own thing until they learn their lessons. But then when they release it, it goes out through this source back into the Earth, where it's carried around and neutralized with the flows of the EMF fields around the Earth. Now, you can just visualize most houses in the ley lines that we have two grids of ley lines going through us. There's the north-south grid and the east-west grid that overlay each other, and these are about every 4 or 5 feet, and they flow in opposite directions. And where these are negative, they're positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative. Now, when you get two positive lines across each other from the lateral and the vertical flow, not vertical, it's lateral. One goes around the Earth, around the circumference of the Earth, and the other comes from the North Field to the South Pole and circulates around that way. Well, where there's two of those positive lines crossing, it causes an intensity of life force. It just feels like a good place to be in that house. We're talking about a house. Now, and if you happen to locate your easy chair there or your bed where you're in that life force flow all the time, in those ley lines they're called, then you get the most vitality and life force possible, and you sleep well, and you're healthy and vital, and you don't get sick, you have the best possible life. But if you happen to locate yourself over two of these crossing negative lines, they amplify each other, and that's the worst place you can possibly be in your house. So when I do house clearing for people, the first thing I do is go in and clear the thought forms that are patterned into the house. What are they or the previous inhabitants pattern into that house that just literally makes it not a nice place to be, you know? How much negativity just patterned into the walls and into the physical reality that hasn't been cleared. Well, what I do is I activate that clearing process and get them out of there. I just take them down, that negativity down, and I did it when I walked into this motel room tonight. Joan and I, one of the first things we did is we sat down and cleared this room, and then we cleared this whole motel of negativity that people have been dumping here as they pass through. And you can just feel the whole reality of the place change. And we pull in positive energy to empower us and get us going again. But you can do the same thing in a home. You locate where these double negatives are, and you clear the whole house of this stuff. And you do not put your bed or your recliner or place where you spend a lot of time over one of these double negatives. And this is the reason we douse homes for the ley lines. And the American Society of Dowsers has a lot of information on this. If you want to call them, you can find them on the internet. American Society of Dowsers, and go to their bookstore, and they have a lot of information on stuff like this. Clearing grid lines and ley lines and things like that in homes. But I've been able to heal chronic problems, health problems in families simply by going into the house and relocating where their beds are, or clearing the negativity. And always again, I showed the parents or the primary people who was there how to do this stuff. It is so freaking simple. It's unbelievable. But nobody knows about it. But this is part of creating your reality instead of being subjected to it. Is learning how things work in the ley lines okay. Well, the question was Susan, and her home was located real close to one of these negative vortexes. So much so that she was having a terrible time with the health of the children and the psychological attitude of the children and the family wasn't doing well. She wasn't doing well. So we moved that vortex by putting a crystal 50 or so feet away from the house and reprogrammed it to be out of the house, taking the negativity out of the house instead of her collecting negativity from all over the neighborhood around there. Well, this worked, except we have to keep doing it again and again and again, because these things tend to come back and relocate where they were. So when you find that you're situated right over one of these things, the best thing you do is exactly what she did, and that's what I recommended for her to do, is to get another house. And if she'll call me, I'll check out the new locality. All she has to do is be in that area, and I can tune in through her and feel how it is. Or she can find another dowser with this capacity. There's not very many of them around. But if nothing else, she can send me a map of her locality, and I can map dowse and find where these positive, negative vortexes are. And there's a lot of things you can do. We quite often bury crystals in these negative ley lines to weaken them, put our intent in them to weaken them so they will not be carrying as much negativity through into the house. And they're necessary. They have to be there somewhere to carry the used life force energy out of our systems and out of our plants and our dogs and cats and the mosquitoes and everything that lives around there. That's subtle energy. That's polarity. And you can screw with that about so much, and then it rebels on you. So you gotta know what you're doing when you're playing with this stuff. But it's not a difficult art to learn. And as far as her new house is concerned, I think she made a wonderful choice, and if she'll send me the information, I'll dowse her house or her locality and tell her if it's a good place to be or not. Any other questions about that?
Frank.
No, just thank you, Frank. Thank you.
I can't hear you.
Thank you for that. I'll pass that on to Susan. Thank you.
Okay.
Frank, it's very interesting. You mentioned the American Society of Dowsers. Did you ever know anyone from the British Society of Dowsers by any chance?
Oh, yes. Percy Nigel Percy, of course.
Did you know Alf Riggs? Did you ever know Alf Riggs?
No, didn't know him.
Okay. I met him once. He came to do our house because my ex-wife was into all these things like electro-smog like 20 years ago and things. And she got Alf to douse the house. We didn't realize, but we were living above an underground base.
Well, the English are the ones that developed this, the understanding about this. They've been working on this for 300 years. And one good story they tell about is one bedroom in one house over there, several generations in a row that moved in or lived there or was raised there in one room developed cancer. And so why? Why this one spot in this one house in that neighborhood? And they figured it out because there was a spring flow or water flow, a stream flow underneath it that was resonating negative energy up into them. But I took that further as a realization that that house and that bedroom was planted right over a negative vortex, and this is really what was happening.
I do feng shui consulting. I'm a feng shui consultant
as
well. And I see a lot of these energy, funny energies. You can feel them in a house, and you hear the stories about how people are affected with their health, especially in a house that's had somebody else that was sick there before them, and the fabric of the carpet and the walls and whatever pick up this energy. I had a friend who bought another friend's house, and she had the first friend to live there, had the house for about 18 years. She had fibromyalgia and some diseases which affected her immune system. And the second woman bought the house, moved in, and within 3 years she had the same diseases.
Diseases pattern the frequencies into a locality. This is why when I clear a disease, I clear the family, the genetic propensity of the family to pick that up one from another and send on down through the generations. Clear the family flow, and clear the house of the pattern and the frequencies, so life can be good.
Right. I lived in Santa Fe for a couple of years, and I started having trouble with my ankles. So I bought a feng shui book about your health. And I read that if the beams were crossing across you and not running with you when you slept at night, you were going to have that part of your body affected adversely. And sure enough, I had a cross beam right across my ankles. Hung crystals across it, sold the house, couldn't wait to get out of there, and my ankles have been fine ever since because I didn't stay long enough.
Exactly.
But I also talked to a feng shui master at the time to have her look at the house over. It had a lot of strange diagonal energies which cut off the bagua or the main flow of energy. And she said, I'm really surprised that someone didn't have a kidney disease here because that front entryway is so small. I said, yeah, the family who lived here, their daughter had a $250,000 kidney transplant.
Oh, wow.
So these are very interesting things to know. And we can educate ourselves on them. Buy a few good books, listen to the Chinese, listen to the English, listen to your local dowser.
I met this fellow, Alf Riggs, and he was a very, very dull man, I have to say. He was the dullest man I've ever met, because he was a time and motion man. And he was just like the kind of guy who would just write down numbers day after day, all day, and he was happy to do so. But he had a very dry tone, but I followed him around the house, and he was looking, and he showed us where these lines were, and he showed us how he was dowsing it, and I was looking at him, and so I picked up my rods and just kind of tuned in with what he was doing, and very quickly was able to duplicate what he was doing with the rods and things like that, and what he was tuning into. And what he said, there was a kind of north, south, east, west set of lines, which was the Hartmann grid, and then northeast, southwest, southwest, northeast. No, they were diagonal, much wider, about twice as wide, and that was the Curry grid. And he said that where I was sleeping, it would pass right through my stomach, and that's exactly where that's where I had an ulcer and all kinds of terrible stomach diseases when I was sleeping in that position. So yeah, he had some very interesting stories as well. So,
I see we have some healing requests coming in.
Well, let's get on with those, shall we?
Yeah, I think it would be wise.
Okay, so.
Okay.
Do you want to go? Go ahead.
Well, go ahead.
Barbara in Las Vegas. She has stomach and colon issues, and her husband Alfredo, who is under stress and anxiety, addicted to TV and negativity, and sees the worst of the world. Well, maybe they should have their house doused out first. The TV's probably on the vortex.
They have hip douse. She put her finger on it right there. If you have that kind of negativity, that attracts exactly what we were talking about. Is those negative flows of energy, and he could be attracting negativity in from the whole neighborhood right in there and create his own negative vortex. And what he may be able to handle it, but someone else around him probably can't. If it is the antithesis of her good health and well-being in life. Of course, that could be the mental emotional cause of her stomach and colon issues. Well, that's the relationships problems we get into. But let's do a healing for Barbara right now. And as always, let's unify our group mind consciousness so we have the personal power as well as the combined power of the group to do these healings now. So I'm going to walk you into a little meditation here that shows you how to access your subconscious mind, and then drop you down into Earth mind and to the psychic grid, so we are all one in our intent and our healing power. And the way we do this is get totally comfortable and relaxed. Close your eyes. Separate your hands and your legs. Take your awareness up into your forehead and begin to move your point of awareness right straight back in your head. And always the first thing you encounter there is the soul center, where the indwelling soul operates, so it can gather all this information from the subconscious mind and deliver it to the frontal lobes, so you have a thinking, reasoning process going on. That's one of the functions of the soul, is to make a cognitive experiential life for you. So let's reach out laterally and unify our souls now. Just become one with everyone in the Spirit Radio land at this time. And our intent is for Barbara in Las Vegas to drop your awareness on back a step further now to do the Psychic Center. And here's where we can come directly in communication with Barbara. And here's where we can send the thought to Barbara to clear the negativity around her by some means. Learning how to clear her husband, the negative stress he brings into the house, for one thing. Because the stomach and colon issues are exactly where stresses are held, particularly the stomach. The solar plexus holds unresolved issues until the subconscious holds unresolved issues in the solar plexus until they've been worked through. And one way of working them through, if you have issues that are not clarified, is to work them through with your mind, imagine them, fantasize the solution to the problems, and release the problem. The subconscious is so literal, it accepts that, and will accept that solution. And as far as it knows, anything you imagine is just as real as what you're experiencing in the physical world out there. So imagine your husband being happy and positive, non-addicted to TV, but getting a life one way or another, and create your own reality that's not directly tied into him, where his negativity is affecting you like this. So what I'm going to do is just what we're going to do is wrap Barbara in a flow of healing energy to balance her system. And to do this, we're going to reach right back through the back of her head into the galactic flow. And this is that life force flow that we were talking about a while ago. Bring that life force flow in, all you healers, everyone listening, through your body, and you'll feel it resonating out through your hands as heat in your hands. And as you feel this, direct it to Barbara. It's just as though she were right there in front of you. Through the power of the Christ within us, we see Barbara in the perfect and normal condition. More importantly, we see Barbara taking charge of her life and her reality and creating the positive awareness of her personal power and her ability to direct and heal the situation. This is why it's so critically important to teach people how to heal themselves. If you can heal yourself, you can heal anyone else that you know simply by clearing them of their stress, clearing them of the mental, emotional cause of the stress, which is the cause of the illnesses. Release the stress, feel your solar plexus, just create a vortex down from through your body down into the earth and drain in a clockwise direction down into the earth. Those physical symptoms out of your body. Now, everyone out there in the radio land who is hearing this, who has stomach or colon problems, do this same thing. Clear yourselves of the negative patterns and forms and the stress that is held by the subconscious mind until it's released. And again, you release it energetically by creating a spiral of energy down into the earth, reaching through the oversoul to the God force, and bring that through the back of your head. Pull that energy in and feel it resonating through your hands, through your entire body. And those of you who are healing yourselves, put your hands on the locations and feel that tingling energy come out of your hands. And I always like to say this little mantra to tell the subconscious exactly what we want. Through the power of the Christ within us, we see this person in the perfect and normal condition. And you can say, thank you, God. Thank you, creative powers, divine beings and helpers. By thanking the energetic helpers, the saints and spirits and everyone, it makes them more powerful. They can be more attentive to your needs because you're creating a flow of communication with them. Through the power of the Christ within us, we see Barbara in the perfect and normal condition. We see her husband, Alfredo, releasing his addiction to TV and negativity and the perception that everything is wrong in the world and getting worse. Release that and help help Frodo to see the positive things in the world. Always replace the negative as you release it with the positive opposite situation. All right, now we close to that. And that Marilyn Warder has asked, Betty Thumb of Montal, California is 85 years old and has advanced dementia. She is having trouble crossing over, causing the family great grief and extreme expenses. What can you see here? What I see there is she's been held in fear by her low self, her animal consciousness, fear of death, because it does not understand that the low self soul has an afterlife as well as the high soul. Her animal nature fears death, so it clings to life, even though the high soul may have already withdrawn. So what we do is what we call the Book of the Dead with this lady. We'll put your point and attention to her now. We call in some angelic helpers. Open a portal. All right, grandmother, please look into the portal now. And you see that by releasing, letting go of this physical body, you can go into a state of consciousness of the afterlife where you'll be with your relatives and can continue to grow and evolve into higher consciousness. Through the power of the Christ within us, we release you. We ask the low self to release and let go of its animal fear. So low self, when you release, you go to an afterlife realm where you'll be much happier and can continue your evolution of consciousness. Through the power of the Christ within you, we release you and send you into the light. I always do a thing I learned in Egypt. I was actually capable of reading the tomb walls, not because I understood hieroglyphics, but I understood the energies that created them. I could tune into the forces of consciousness. So what I do is create a flow of energy, a flow of natural harmonious release, where a person is cleared of their karma and any illnesses. They will not take their illnesses into their next reality. And the family is released and relieved of the responsibility of caring for her. They've learned all the lessons they need to, and so it is, we close. Okay, what's next?
Walt would like stress muscles for his mother healed.
See if I can find that one. I don't see it. Say that again so I can hear it.
Walt, my mom needs healing for stressed muscles.
All right. Well, here again is your opportunity to learn to be a healer and to use the tools that you have. So take the light with the crystal in it and program into the crystal one of your light instruments, and through resonance with your mother, understand exactly what she needs to release the stress that's holding the tension in her muscles. Now, just reading her, I feel fear and anxiety about your future. She's as much concerned about you as she is herself, not knowing where you're going in your new reality. So just wrap your mother in a tremendous flow of love and the understanding that you are an intuitive, a natural healer, and that people will come to you for healing with the tools you have. So your security is acknowledged and already resonating forward into the future. Your mother will be cared for because you will be cared for. When you give your work unconditionally to higher consciousness and the God force, it returns back to you in many unexpected ways. But you will be well cared for. And the reason I'm turning it back to you is because this is how you learn. Yes, the group mind can quickly heal your mother, but would you learn something in the process? So you work with it, then come back to us again in the near future and report on how well you're able to use your own beautiful tools. So it is. This is really always about teaching people to heal themselves and then to spread the healing around through others, the teaching, the understanding of a subtle energy, the God force, and how everything works. Through the power of the Christ within us. We already have the knowledge. We simply have to bring it to expression and fruition. Okay, who's next?
Okay, so we have Skytree from southwestern Oregon. She's got a bite on her left leg, a new bite. She doesn't know what it is. Can you tune into her? I think it's a her.
A bite?
A bite on the left leg, yes.
Is this an insect bite?
Presumably.
All right, my attention immediately drawn.
Catherine is one of my heart sisters. I love Catherine.
Oh, that's Sky, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so
there, you can go through me, Frank.
Yeah, you got some focus.
She lives down around close to Medford, Ashland, Oregon.
Could this be Lyme's disease? Let me check. Put your mind, your attention on her. Let me go through you and read her. No, it's not Lyme's disease. It doesn't matter. We focus on the lady, on the condition, and there are microbes in there. That's what's causing the irritation and the chemical implant that was put in there. We neutralize the life force of the microbes to where they can't reproduce.
Is anyone getting horsefly?
What?
I'm getting horsefly.
Or it could well be. There's a lot of biting flies of that nature.
Oh man, I'm so itchy. I got an itchy.
Yeah, alright. We're neutralizing the chemical that cause the itch. The itch is there to cause her to scratch them, to move the things around and break the natural healing capacity of the body down. Okay, we're wrapping it in an orb of energy now, isolating it. And we're pulling, it's just like sucking it out, just like you would venom from a snake bite. Suck it out. With our desire and will and intent. And release it into matter unorganized, so it can't pollute something else. You see the healing progressing naturally and quickly. The vital life force coming back into the tissues. Catharsis of the tissues being reversed, coming back into clear and clean functionality. Through the power of the Christ within us, we see this bite in the perfect and normal condition. Okay, that should do it. You know, that's an interesting thing about bites. I learned years ago, someone in my family was stung by a wasp, and immediately, before the body could react and build up the toxins, I put my hand over it, right, my palm right over the bite, and it's just like I sucked that toxin out of there with my hand. And what I was doing was pulling the life force the structure of the consciousness that held the bite in form, and the energetics of its what it was created for. And it's okay to do this, even though that's the defensive mechanism of the wasp or the bee or tick bite or anything else. It's all right to do this because you already passed the point where you're causing any stress to the bee or the wasp or whatever the insect is. And so there's no need for it to continue on. We have to respect the wasps and everything for detecting their territory, and they're just doing what they naturally would do in case of invasion or fear of death themselves. So we forgive them and release the toxin, what they've done to us. And it's amazing how you'll feel that stuff kind of come up into your own system, and you just flip it away, just throw it away. Within moments, the bite will be totally fine. Nothing ever builds up. So, and you can do it. I worked on spider bites on people that are 2 or 3 days old, and some of these are horrible necrotic things that just started flashes decaying away. And within hours after doing this type of healing, and just letting nature tell you what to do, let your instinctive consciousness and helpers direct the energies, the frequencies that are needed to neutralize those toxins. It's quite easy to do. And you do it simply by tuning into it and becoming the bite, become the toxin itself. And this, you kind of raise your awareness up through frequency ranges, and you'll lock on one, and that's your subconscious telling you the exact frequency to hit this stuff with, to break it down and neutralize it, and then you pull it out. It's not hard to do. Okay, any more questions?
I have 2 friends that have bone marrow cancer.
What?
I have 2 friends that have bone marrow cancer.
Bone marrow cancer?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Helen and Patrick.
Where are they located?
Patrick's here in Reno, and Helen is up in Basalt, Colorado.
Mm-hmm. We have 2 people with bone marrow cancer. Now again, as always with cancer, it isn't a matter of allopathically fixing them like doctors do or try to do. It's a matter of understanding why the body allowed this to manifest in the first place. And so to do this, we have to tune into these persons, and we're going to do them both at once now, because I'm asking the group mind conscious to work with me on this. It is Patrick in
Reno and Helen in Colorado.
Patrick in Reno and Helen in Colorado. And we're going through Camille. Just direct your attention to her. All right, now we're going to ask some helpers to come. They're already in the fear of their condition. They're already under the doctor's allopathic situations. They're not responding well to it because the doctors, of course, can't get to the mental emotional cause. And so we step backward in time in both these live streams. Direct your energy backward in time in these live streams, back to the point where they were perfect and healthy and all looking at the situation in their lives. It can be years back that caused this internal structure to mutate and distort and to spontaneously begin the death process. And this comes from a death which, even though it was not consciously realized back in time when they were both in such an untenable situation, but they did not desire to continue living. They couldn't see the functionality and beauty of life at that time, and even though they moved beyond that, the imprint's still there in the subconscious mind and in the physical system. As I've said many times, cancer is an honorable way of committing suicide. And we, in our best will and good intent, our energies won't be appropriate or listened to until they go back in time, and we're working with them now because we know they want to be healed. We're going back in time and releasing, correcting the situation they were involved in, and they do this by visualizing becoming the people they were then. And prior to the situation occurring in the standing waves of the past, they go as observers and see how it developed in each situation, and they change in their moment of now. They change the choices that were made that prompted or caused this desire for release from life to occur. And in doing so, we create a parallel reality where the positive expression can manifest and carry on through, and we let the other reality move out to the left as we create a positive reality parallel to the one that carries the dysfunction. And in this new life from that point back there, see themselves in the situation they went through as being positive, creative, win-win for everyone, sending total unconditional love back to support them to create a new reality. And that new reality in this moment of now merges in with our energy and allows the healing process to occur because we're releasing the shock, the trauma, the adverse conditions. And in the case of one of them, it didn't happen to her, it happened to a parent. But nevertheless, this is the family karma acting out. We release that situation. We heal the mental emotional cause, and the body spontaneously responds. Remember, we're all just energy held together with thought. Through the power of the Christ within us, we see these people responding to the chemotherapy or other techniques that are being used. We see their bodies regenerating, creating the right and proper frequencies, and we're doing this with the will of the two people who desire to be healed. And recognizing that should they choose to continue their path and release, then that is all in God's nature, and we acknowledge their right to do that. We cannot impose healing on anyone or anything or change any situation that's not right and appropriate. Through the power of the Christ within us, let them pursue their lives, and we give them the energetic recognition of their ability to do so. And we release them. And so it is.
Thank you.
Wow, that's one of those situations where you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. So we leave it up to them to make the choices. All right. Who?
So
anything more?
We got about 2 minutes. Son of Nicole, age nearly 20, with some sort of lymphoma condition. Son is nearly 20, that is a bit vague. Near Bowling Green, Ohio. We don't even know his name. Okay.
I'm really having difficulty understanding you, JP.
Yeah, sorry about this. This is it's a bit vague, and we're a bit late. I think we should wrap up and.
All right, please. Okay,
So,
would you like to wrap up? I'm kind of spaced out.
Has anybody got any final comments? Well, there we go. Bless you all. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night, JP.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Night, JP.
Good night.
Love and peace.
Remember, unconditional love.